You know, it's so crazy to me because I'm asked so many times if I'm, resentful in any type of way for where the WNBA is right now.
The buzz around the WNBA right now isn't just loud, it's deafening. Arenas are packed, TV ratings are skyrocketing, and for the first time in history, this league is shattering records at a pace nobody saw coming. But beneath all that exhilarating noise, there's a quiet, insidious secret, a toxic truth that's been threatening to unravel everything. A bitterness so profound, so deeply ingrained, it's been allowed to fester, clouding the judgment of those at the very top. It's a reality that every Caitlin Clark fan has been screaming about, a glaring double standard that the league's old guard desperately hoped would stay hidden in the shadows. But then, a true WNBA legend, a voice of unparalleled authority and integrity stepped forward. Candace Parker didn't just speak, she delivered a calm, calculated, and absolutely devastating clapback on national television, ripping the band-aid off this festering wound. Her words were a chilling confirmation of what so many have felt, a truth that the WNBA, and especially its commissioner, can no longer ignore. Because as this season progresses, a disturbing pattern becomes terrifyingly clear. The more Caitlin Clark wins, the louder and more self-destructive the internal resistance against her seems to get. What Candace Parker said might just be the most pivotal moment of the season, a stark warning that could either save or permanently damage the league's unprecedented momentum.
Out of women's basketball, for a horrible team when she arrived, outside of LeBron and Steph, she is the most well-known basketball player currently playing in the United States.
Oh, yes. And I don't think that's close.
It is the second highest viewership, which is like average viewership. However, it was the highest peak of any game ever on CBS.
Let's be clear, the numbers don't lie, they never do, and the truth they reveal about Caitlin Clark's impact on the WNBA isn't just significant, it's absolutely staggering. She's not just popular, she's become arguably the most recognizable basketball player in the United States, standing shoulder to shoulder with titans like LeBron James and Steph Curry. The WNBA, a league that once struggled for mainstream attention and consistently fought for primetime slots, is now experiencing insane, unprecedented growth, and it's all because of Caitlin Clark. This isn't a secret. It's the worst kept truth in sports. She's not just the most popular player in WNBA history, she's likely the most popular athlete in America, period. Consider the overwhelming evidence. Last season, we saw a historic spike in TV ratings, a surge in ticket sales that redefined expectations, and merch flying off the shelves like never before. Every single measurable metric pointed to one undeniable fact: Caitlin moves the needle like no one else. And this year, she's not just matching it, she's outpacing it. Sold-out arenas have become the norm, not the exception, forcing some teams to move games to larger venues just to accommodate the demand. Record-breaking viewership figures are rolling in week after week. The Caitlin Clark effect isn't slowing down, it's accelerating into an unstoppable force. We're talking about games reaching average viewership numbers that were once unimaginable for the WNBA, hitting peak viewership figures that had never been seen on certain networks before. Fans are tuning in to watch Caitlin Clark and the Fever in record numbers. An exhibition preseason game against Brazil pulled in 1.3 million viewers. A preseason game. That's a number most regular season games could only dream of. Then came the season opener, drawing an astonishing 2.7 million average viewers, making it the most watched WNBA regular season game in a quarter century. And just recently, a peak of 3.3 million tuned in to watch her battle the Liberty. This isn't just growth, it's a revolution, a tidal wave of attention that has single-handedly elevated the league's profile to unforeseen heights.
And now that Caitlin Clark is injured, oh, the ticket prices for the Fever and Sky game just plummeted to Hades.
You know, the loudest mics, like I stated, are the ones that's race baiting. Not even bringing up the names, but all the people that I'm seeing that are tied within the WNBA media, coaches, all type of things. They are very resentful of Caitlin Clark, and I don't know why. It doesn't make sense when you have somebody that's doing what she's doing for the WNBA.
You even though it's 100% false, by acknowledging we don't condone hate and not seeing that this was a internet rumor founded of complete bullshit, you're lending credence to this. There was none of that.
But then, a chilling reality hit. Caitlin Clark got injured, and everything changed. Fast. Suddenly, without her name on the roster, ticket prices for Fever and Sky games plummeted, some by a mind-blowing 300%. While Fever fans remarkably have held their own in TV ratings to some extent, the rest of the league, without Clark, lags way behind. This should be a blaring wake-up call for everyone involved: players, coaches, front offices, and the league itself. Caitlin Clark is projected to generate over $1 billion in revenue for the WNBA this year alone. That isn't just a big number, it's transformative for a league that has historically operated on a far smaller scale. This means one terrifying thing: the WNBA is one serious Caitlin Clark injury away from losing all its momentum. So those hypothetical CBA dollars Angel Reese might be anticipating, that new deal Nafisa Collier might believe players have leverage for. Without Caitlin, forget about it. That leverage vanishes into thin air. The league's financial future, its ability to secure lucrative new media rights deals, its very stability now rests precariously on the shoulders of one singular phenomenon. And yet, somehow, inexplicably, the league keeps shooting itself in the foot. Instead of embracing the obvious truth about who's fueling this unprecedented growth, they twist themselves into intellectual knots, pretending it's something else entirely. Rather than celebrating these historic gains, they keep dragging the conversation toward everything but basketball. It's a baffling display of self-sabotage. The loudest voices, especially within the WNBA media and coaching ranks, are often the ones engaging in what many are now calling race baiting and divisive rhetoric. There's a palpable, almost venomous resentment toward Caitlin Clark, and the reason for it remains a complete mystery to outside observers. It doesn't make any logical sense when you have someone doing what she's doing for the WNBA, single-handedly lifting it into the mainstream conversation, attracting new fans and dollars previously thought impossible.
The kind of stuff that's being said to them, the stuff that's being said to Kelsey Mitchell, the kind of things that are being said to Natasha Howard are actually wild. People have taken a photo of these women and circled a bullseye on them and have said, "It's on site when I see you." Those are actual threats.
Caitlin Clark is getting some of the grossest, most morbid comments, racist, hateful. We're talking the cup runneth over with hate. Here, Kathy Engelbert, you're no space for hate. Where are you right now?
Kathy Engelbert, in this long drawn-out article, goes on and gives herself credit for why the WNBA has finally entered some type of mainstream conversation.
We're only a few games into the season, and it's already been a relentless series of facepalms in terms of how Caitlin and her fans have been treated. The chaos started almost immediately. After the season opener against the Sky, the league, incredibly, launched an investigation into alleged hate speech based on what ultimately amounted to nothing more than baseless internet rumors and manufactured outrage. But the damage was already done. Instead of celebrating an incredible debut and a record-breaking moment for the league, the headlines were hijacked. The story wasn't about basketball, it was about fabricated controversy. And once again, Caitlin Clark and her fans were dragged into a toxic narrative that had absolutely nothing to do with what actually happened on the court. By acknowledging these fabricated claims, even if to deny them, the league inadvertently lent credence to a baseless internet rumor, fueling a false narrative that Indianapolis wasn't safe for players and that Caitlin Clark's fan base was hateful. People actually started calling for the All-Star game to be moved. Others demanded that personalities like Dave Portnoy be banned from arenas for merely heckling an opposing player, an act commonplace in sports. Meanwhile, in a stunning display of silence, the league has stayed completely quiet about the very real, very ugly hate being directed at Caitlin and the Fever. No statements, no support, nothing. The things being said about Fever players, especially Caitlin, have gone far beyond mere basketball critiques. They weren't just criticisms of her game or her popularity. They were hateful, threatening, and deeply disturbing. We're talking about people circulating photos of these women with bullseyes circled on them, uttering chilling phrases like, "It's on site when I see you," you. These weren't just rude comments. These were legitimate, personal, targeted threats against individuals. The kind of attacks you'd expect a league that constantly touts its stance on no space for hate and inclusion to at least condemn. But instead, crickets. No statement, no defense, no support. And it only got worse.
To new followers and outside observers, our organization's success might seem overnight and even lucky, prepared by a singularly exceptional group of college players coming into the WNBA. However, we could not have capitalized on those advantages without years of hard work and preparation. Years of hard work and preparation. It might have seemed like it came overnight.
When they play in these arenas where there are 15 to 20,000 people in the stands, they are in front of people that they haven't been in front of before. That is an opportunity for all of us fans to get to know all the players on the court, all of the players in the WNBA, to pick new favorite players, to pick other teams that we want to follow along.
We've now reached a point where fans on social media are actually accusing Caitlyn of using her assistant coach's baby as a prop. This isn't just criticism, it's deranged, reaching levels of morbid conspiracy. Caitlyn Clark is receiving some of the grossest, most morbid, racist, and hateful comments imaginable. The cup truly runneth over with hate here, and yet Cathy Engelbert, the commissioner whose league proudly proclaims no space for hate, has remained conspicuously silent. They're attacking Caitlyn for holding a baby. That's the disturbing level of discourse we're dealing with. It's gone from simple criticism to outright conspiracy theories, fueled by a baffling resistance from the top. The league still has nothing to say, creating a dangerous void that allows toxicity to thrive. So the hate toward Caitlyn and her fans hasn't just gone nowhere, it's intensified, metastasizing into something far uglier. And even with all the numbers, all the sold out games, all the record-breaking viewership, there's still an inexplicable resistance to acknowledging her profound impact. This resistance, it seems, starts at the very top. Commissioner Cathy Engelbert, in a lengthy, self-congratulatory article for the Harvard Business Review, essentially bent over backward to take credit for the WNBA's newfound mainstream conversation. She spread that credit around to everyone imaginable. Coaches, players, marketing teams, front office strategy, you name it. Everyone got a pat on the back, but there was virtually zero emphasis on Caitlyn Clark. Her words were carefully chosen to dilute the narrative. To new followers and outside observers, our organization's success might seem overnight and even lucky, propelled by a singularly exceptional group of college players coming into the WNBA. However, we could not have capitalized on those advantages without years of hard work and preparation. Years of hard work and preparation. She seriously diluted Caitlyn's impact more than a McDonald's fountain Coke, almost defensively implying that her success was merely a lucky break for the league, not the result of one player's transcendent talent.
I think it's all about money, marketing, and we cannot deny what Caitlyn Clark has done for the women's game. I'm not going to act like it's something that we don't see. She's had a huge effect. Call it the Caitlyn Clark effect. Yes, have we ever had teams have to get into larger arenas to play against a team? No, we have not. So if we have more eyeballs on the game and Caitlyn Clark brings that, why would we feel some kind of way because she has more television games?
Ultimately, it comes down to the fact that there were an abundance of women in the WNBA doing tremendous work on behalf of the WNBA and the game of basketball, and you just sense that folks were feeling an absence of appreciation.
In that very article, Engelbert deliberately lumped Caitlyn Clark in with Angel Reese and Cameron Brink, writing, as these rookies entered the league, regular season games drew an average of 1.2 million viewers, up 170% from the previous season. But you know it, I know it, and even your dog knows it. It was Caitlyn's games that averaged 1.2 million viewers. Yet, because the old guard seemingly cannot stand that Caitlyn is getting all the credit, there's a constant, almost desperate scramble to hand out gold stars to anyone but her. It's one thing to feel a flicker of jealousy, that's human nature, but what we're witnessing goes far beyond that. For some unfathomable reason, there's this deep-seated need to knock Caitlyn down, as if doing so will somehow lift others up. And in far too many cases, people go straight to racism as the explanation for why she's getting all the attention, as if it has nothing to do with the fact that she shattered 62 NCAA records, became a first-team All-American, ranked 4th in MVP voting, and dragged a bottom-dwelling team into the playoffs in her first year. It's an illogical argument designed to deflect from her unparalleled success. It's truly wild because, whether they want to admit it or not, what Caitlin Clark is bringing to the table is creating a better situation for everyone. When the spotlight is on her, it doesn't just stop there, it shines on the entire league. When they play in these massive arenas packed with 15 to 20,000 screaming fans, they are in front of people they've never been in front of before. That is an unparalleled opportunity for all of us fans to get to know all the players on the court, to pick new favorite players, to follow other teams. This rising tide lifts all boats, providing unprecedented visibility, sponsorship opportunities, and media attention for every athlete and franchise in the WNBA. We've already had legends speak up about this, people who actually helped build this league brick by brick and understand what's truly at stake. Lisa Leslie, a Hall of Famer and one of the most respected voices in women's basketball, basically mic dropped the entire WNBA when she called out the rampant jealousy surrounding Caitlin Clark. She put it plainly, "I think it's all about money, marketing, and we cannot deny what Caitlin Clark has done for the women's game. I'm not gonna act like it's something that we don't see. She's had a huge effect called the Caitlin Clark effect. Yes, have we ever had teams have to get into larger arenas to play against a team? No, we have not. So if we have more eyeballs on the game and Caitlin Clark brings that, why would we feel some kind of way? Because she has more television games." Leslie's words were a direct challenge due to the pettiness.
But then this dude named Michael Jordan came along. And Michael Jordan came along and he wasn't yet winning championships, but his popularity was so astronomical that the NBA practically marketed everything they could around this guy. So to know that there's an example like that as a shining example to be followed that could benefit the league, particularly down the road, why is that an issue when we've seen that such a marketing plan has worked in the past?
But still, the pushback, the pettiness, the denial continues. The league once again desperately needed some sense knocked into it, and it seems that only a true reality check can come from the old guard, the legends who genuinely understand. How rare and precious this moment is. Well, Candace Parker is as old guard as it gets. A 3-time WNBA champion, a 2-time MVP, and a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. She's one of the most decorated, respected, and intelligent players the WNBA has ever seen. And this week she joined Stephen A. Smith on First Take to do what almost no one else in the league has had the courage to do: address the elephant in the room. Stephen A. Smith, credit where it's due, hasn't been afraid to call it like it is. He's one of the few mainstream voices willing to actually use the word jealousy. He's seen it. Fans have seen it. Everyone watching the WNBA right now can feel it. On First Take, he dropped a logic bomb on Nneka Ogwumike, who had expressed frustration over Caitlin getting more nationally televised games. Smith drew a powerful parallel, but then this dude named Michael Jordan came along. And Michael Jordan came along and he wasn't yet winning championships, but his popularity was so astronomical that the NBA practically marketed everything they could around this guy. So to know that there's an example like that as a shining example to be followed that could benefit the league, particularly down the road, why is that an issue when we've seen that such a marketing plan has worked in the past? This wasn't some softball interview. This wasn't an environment where there wouldn't be pushback, no dodging, no fluff, just straight to the heart of the issue. Smith pressed Candace, "Can you speak to that collective frustration that some may have been feeling, and whether or not you think it's something that's being overcome as you all thrive and move forward in continuing to promote and uplift this league?" But what we got from Candace was one of the most measured, thoughtful, and profoundly logical responses yet. The kind of answer that made Caitlin Clark fans everywhere collectively say, "Exactly," Parker began. You know, it's so crazy to me, because I'm asked so many times if I'm, resentful in any type of way for where the WNBA is right now. My job was to leave the game better than I came into it. You think Cheryl Miller is resentful for me that I had a league to play in? No, she's being the mentor that she is, and she's supporting and loving and sitting courtside cheering on Juju Watkins, and I'm doing the same for Caitlin Clark and all the women in the WNBA. This was a Picasso of logic, a masterpiece in perspective, a generational blueprint for true sportsmanship. But first, did you catch it? Candace said she gets asked so many times if she's resentful of Caitlin Clark. That single line says everything about how deep the jealousy runs within the WNBA. Think about that for a moment. Media members, players, and insiders are going to one of the most decorated athletes in league history and asking if she's jealous of Caitlin Clark. It tells you everything you need to know about the insidious undercurrent in the league, but Candace, with her characteristic grace and wisdom, gave the right answer, the one that should be the absolute standard. She said plainly, it's not about being jealous of who's next. It's about cultivating the game, preparing the platform, and building it up to a place where it's ready for the next star. You don't have to downplay Caitlin. You don't have to pretend her success is some fluke or ignore the undeniable fact that she's lightning in a bottle. Instead, she argued, be proud that you built the foundation, then support her. Because, get this, it's good for everyone. It's a message of unity, foresight, and collective prosperity that seems lost on so many, and Candace wasn't done. She didn't say it word for word, but she made it abundantly clear. She was calling out all the toxic noise, especially the deeply harmful race-based talking points that have been quietly, and sometimes not so quietly, undermining Caitlin's meteoric rise. Parker asserted, you know, I tuned in when Kevin Durant went back and played Russell Westbrook and they bumped shoulders and everybody was tuned in, but I want to keep it within the lines of the game, and I think that's what's the most important. Now everybody has a Twitter finger, everybody can have reach to, you know, the WNBA and make comments. But really the key is let's keep it about basketball. That's my thing, and when we do that, then we're able to really grow the game and what it represents. Do you hear that, WNBA? Do you hear that, Twitter haters? Keep it about basketball, because all these race-based takes, these divisive narratives, they're not helping the game grow. They're not building anything positive. In fact, they're just drawing attention to the WNBA in the absolute worst possible way, as a league tearing itself apart from the inside, seemingly unable to celebrate its biggest moment without turning it into a bitter culture war. They want to paint the narrative that it's a white and black thing going on, and that toxic energy is now spilling over to people who don't even watch the games, so now they feel like they are a part of the league just because they know or feel like they know what's going on with the race thing. It's time to cut it out. You all claim you want the league to grow. You all say, keep it about basketball, but then you consistently fail to keep it about basketball. It's a baffling, self-sabotaging contradiction that threatens to derail everything. All Caitlin Clark has done is go out there, put on a show, and give the fans exactly what they came to see. And in doing so, she's grown the game in a way the WNBA has never witnessed before. None of what she's done has ever been about color. There's been no hate, no disrespect toward other players, the fans, or the legends who came before her. In fact, she's been nothing but respectful. She's constantly giving credit to the players who paved the way, shouting out her teammates, praising the competition, and showing genuine humility every step of the way. She's not tearing anyone down. She's lifting the entire sport up, demonstrating a maturity and focus on the game that many veterans seem to lack. Just listen to what Lisa Leslie, another true pioneer, had to say about Clark's respect for the game's legends. And I love that. I love that. She's not the player who's like, it's all about her. It's not. She's giving love and homage to those of us that have come before her. She shares the wealth with her teammates, and she doesn't have to do that. This isn't coming from some biased outsider. This is coming from an OG who helped build the WNBA brick by brick. And now Candace, Parker is echoing the mindset that every single player should have. Leave the game better than you found it, so that players like Caitlin can carry the torch just like she once did. That's how this works. Just like Bird and Magic led to Jordan, who led to Shaq, Kobe, LeBron, and now Luka and SGA. Each generation pushes the game forward so the next one can shine even brighter, benefiting from the groundwork laid by their predecessors. Parker perfectly encapsulated this. Because of visibility, listen, I still know the Dominique Wilkins. I still know, all of those players, the Dr. J's and all that stuff. I don't think they're not salty that MJ came along and grew the game. I mean, that's what it is. The WNBA should be celebrating, not resenting, its own Michael Jordan moment. And finally, Candace touches on why the league desperately needs to clean up its act. Because this moment isn't just about Caitlin Clark, it's about the very future of the league itself. The WNBA as a whole is in an amazing place, on the cusp of truly breaking through into the mainstream sports landscape. But as Parker wisely concludes, now, it's about business to me. At the end of the day, it's about business. And Candace, unlike some others, knows it. Caitlin Clark isn't just great for highlight reels, she's incredible for business. She's a sponsorship magnet, a media rights enhancer, and a gate revenue generator unlike anything the league has ever seen. If you have a good product and your biggest hurdle is getting people to sample that product, she's a godsend. There's simply no denying it. If certain players or the league itself think they have significant leverage going into the next CBA negotiations without Caitlin Clark, they just got a rude awakening with her recent injury, which saw ticket prices plummet and a palpable drop in overall league buzz. But remember how I said the Fever fans were holding their own, even with Clark sidelined? That's an incredibly important detail in all of this. For instance, the Indiana Fever's matchup on a recent Friday versus the Sun drew 851,000 viewers, becoming the most viewed WNBA game on ION this season, despite Caitlin Clark's absence. While not Caitlin Clark numbers, the Fever are still drawing significant numbers even without her, and that's precisely the point. What it shows is the crucial first phase of the Caitlin Clark effect. It's spreading. First, to the Fever, drawing a new dedicated fan base to her team, and eventually, if the league is smart, to the entire WNBA. But you've got to give it time. This kind of cultural shift doesn't happen overnight. It takes years of sustained effort, smart marketing, and consistent support. And when done right, it lays the unbreakable foundation for the next star, the one who will take it even further, building on the unprecedented platform Clark has created. Right now, we are undeniably in the most critical window of growth the WNBA has ever had, and the league absolutely needs to stop blowing it. That means celebrating the new fans, embracing their star, and maybe most importantly, protecting her on the court. That means tightening up the officiating, making it at least fair, if not giving her the star treatment afforded to male superstars. Because you simply cannot let players take reckless runs at your golden goose with zero consequences. The more players like Candace Parker who step up and speak out, the more this fragile ecosystem, which is dangerously close to self-destructing, has a real shot at stabilizing. The biggest question now is, will the league finally learn from its own mistakes? Or will their Achilles heel, their baffling inability to accept Caitlin Clark and the millions of new fans she's brought with her, end up being the very thing that holds them back forever, squandering this historic once-in-a-generation opportunity? If you're still here, drop a GOAT in the comments, because that's exactly what you are for sticking around. Thanks for watching. See you next time.